Okay, this is the fourth time I'm working on this image. I am now going back to journaling like I normally do with watercolor, and I use gouache only if necessary. But I'm even trying to figure out what I'm going to take to Europe. I know Michelle is teaching in gouache and oil, but I'm interested in enjoying the vacation and capturing memories, not necessarily making finished paintings. I found this Strathmore 400 series watercolor journal. My first impression, I liked how thick the pages were, but I don't know if you can see it on the video, but this has real streaks that are kind of a pattern coming this direction. This one's a little different direction. This one has more of a pattern up and down, less straight, but some of them have a distinct pattern in the paper. So to what I don't like, it's inconsistent. This page and this page look totally different as far as quality of paper. So I'm going to just test it and see if I like it. If I don't like it, then I won't buy another one. But I'm trying out different techniques and different methods of painting. And this one I'm going to try to do fairly quick. So I'm going to start with just watercolor. I haven't drawn anything. I did tape it out. I haven't tested the taping on this journal yet. I have my traditional small palettes, ultramarine blue, perylene red, Hansa yellow. No, sorry, that's the ones over here. And burnt sienna. Then this one is peacock blue, purple, new gamboge, and opera rose. So this opera rose gives you a real vibrant color. New gamboge can be a really warm yellow. This is more toward the lemon yellow. Traditional red, burnt sienna, the ultramarine blue, and turquoise, purple, dioxazine is a convenience color. So, all right, so if I'm starting with a watercolor, I look where the lightest lights are. The lightest lights are in the path or the road that's down below, and the sky. So watercolors do dry lighter than when you paint them. I'm going to combine both of these blues for that sky, and I squeeze the water out of my brush. Oh, I don't have a whole lot of water in my brush, so might have to be filling that in. All right, little more on the peacock color, and let it get lighter as it gets down toward the mountains. I want it pretty vibrant, but not so much that takes away from. Anyway, it's way bright. It's not near as bright as it is in the photo. Now, if you don't want your mountain to take off into your sky, you can dab just a little bit and dry that a bit. I don't mind if some of the sky, if the mountain goes into some of it, because I'm working fairly fast. I don't mind the softness there. If it bothers me, I can come back and dry it out just a little bit more. Added a little more numbment too. A little bit of gamboge. Want to dull it some. Let's cool it down a little bit. Wow, that's way too purple. Let's start again over here. And I'm working, very, very small. Ooh, see, still too purple. But I'll probably need to spritz my pan. Want a little bit of green in that. Dry brush. Now, this paper's rough, so dry brush will be good on it. Not sure. Let's see, that's still very, very blue. Not as purple as it was though, so that's good. Y'all can just mute me if you don't want to hear me talking to myself. I'm not worried so much of the trees in the foreground. I can lift some of this up where the foliage will be, because the foliage on the trees is all darker than the background. And, oops, yeah, that's not a good thing. My paints hardly ever come out of their little container there. All right, so that's that in a nutshell. Want a little, oh, that's gouache. I don't want that. I need to move that out of the way. I don't want that till I definitely need it. There's some greenery in here. That's grass, so I'm going to go ahead and lay that in. And I'm going to add the other colors wet on wet. Just try to let it mix together. Again, I'm not too worried about the really tall trees, because that's going to be done when this initial part's dry. Keep reaching for the gouache because I've been painting with that too brown. There's a lot of gold in the colors of the ground, and adobe and all that kind of stuff. Okay, here's the road or path. Once I get there, I'll figure out what it is. It's not like you paint something you're not even sure what it is. Okay, I'm assuming that this is up on a hill, and we're seeing the closest part of the hill is, of course, closest to us, and way off back there is when you get far enough away. And the mountain gets greener as it gets closer to you. It had some gold. I need to fill up my brush, as well as greens in this area. And I want it speckled because it wasn't all any one color. All right, if you're on the go, you will want a pipette. Where's my, there it is. Sorry. Usually have it in my cup. So I normally have a water bottle, but I have a spray bottle, which is a small water bottle. And I just pull it out of the pipette, fill it up, and this will have enough water in my brush for the entire painting, and probably 2 or 3 more paintings. I just didn't fill it up when I got started. All right, so this paper, I've used a little heavier water because I wanted a wet on wet background. It's still, when I put my back of the hand to it, it's still fairly cool, so that means it isn't dry. One thing with this paper, I think it's 100% cotton. I couldn't find anything specific, but when I was ordering notebooks for this trip, that's what I was looking for, because I knew I was also going to work with gouache, and gouache dries really fast, but 100% cotton paper doesn't dry as fast as some of the others. So I thought, well, maybe if I used 100% paper, sorry, my picture disappeared, 100% cotton for my paper, then that would work a little bit better. Don't know yet. Okay, all the other trees I have started with the really dark ones. In watercolor, you traditionally go light to dark. I think I'm going to go then to the medium tone instead of the darkest dark, and go ahead and put in the taller trees that are in this middle part of the foreground. I only did 2, I believe, in the others. I think that's what I'll kind of do, leave off the one that's in the middle. I got to move this gouache out of the way. I'm going to accidentally go to that when I'm not thinking. So this is just watercolor. So when I want a basic green, my ultramarine blue and the yellow next to it is a pretty good green. Now, I'm painting in, I do want to paint in the darks first, so I can kind of establish that. I want to tilt my paper so that the dark part will end up in puddles, and then the lighter part will, well, look at me, I started way low. All right, well, these will be a little lower than I said they would be. So it's fairly watery. Want a little more blue in there. Wipe my brush. While it's still tilted, I'm going to go get some yellow to add to that. And I'm adding, even though the other's wet, I'm adding the yellow at the top. And this will probably also have some pen in it. I'm not sure yet. And I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to take some more of this blue-green, because some of these trees, nope, changed my mind. I'm going to go with the dark, I'm going to mix the dark green now. So I'm going to pick up some of that purple, little of the burnt sienna, tiny bit of the peacock. Ooh, doesn't take much of the peacock blue to take off. When you have a little bit of all the primaries, it looks really dark. All right, so I'm going to start with the tallest tree. The tallest tree is about right in here, and I'm just going to tap on it and drag my hand down my paper. Yeah, you can kind of lay it in. See, I'm not working. You can get really kind of thick with watercolor too, but I don't really want that right now. Just want to do it real quick. And it comes pretty low in the picture frame. Right, while I have that mixed, I'm going to go a little further back, start another one. It's not going to be as big, so it's further down. It's shorter, and the base of it is higher up on my page. While it's wet, I'm just picking up some thicker paint and laying it in. I'm looking for the darks that kind of connect on that pathway. Wipe some of the paint off, come back and blur it out. Oh, that's too much. And pick some of that up, transfer over here. Kind of just creating a little more interest with shadows. And some of these are going to cross the road and get to the other side. When we get to the other side, it's going to be more brown. Just letting those connect. There's some different foliage in here. And then it gets pretty dark in here when we get to these other trees. When I get to that, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to dab in this other tree that's in the background. I don't want it as dark because it isn't. And I'll come back later and add the trunk, pick up a little different color, add another kind of tree foliage in here. Just want a variety of colors. Pick up another one. We'll have some foliage up here that's indicating something a little closer. Wipe a brush, drag some of that in. So it's like that's on a hill. Don't know yet. Okay, that tree in the distance is a little too transparent. I want a little more color in it. Okay, I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to load up that dark color again. I need ultramarine blue, tad bit of peacock blue, a little bit of burnt umber because it's dark. I think that might do it. All right, now I think this area is dry enough. I'm going to put one tree back here. Shows how far away it is. Another tree a little closer. They look fairly close to each other because they're coming down the path and they're almost look like they're overlapping, but there's actually space in between them. They're just the road's turning, so where it kind of looks like that. I'm gonna put another one in here, a little taller. So if the road turns and goes away, that needs to be a little taller to be. They might be similar in height, but because this road is coming down closer to me, they might not always be taller because they could be similar in height. Because I'm not there in person, this is further away from me. I'm going to put one further down the hill, right behind it. Kind of overlap them a little bit more. Maybe one right in here. And it goes about as tall as that tree. I'm going to fill in with other foliage over there in this one. I can't really see it much, but there's other things in between and along the way, and I think that I didn't do that on the other paintings, but I think that helps fill up the space and make sense of things a little bit better. I had to touch my phone to wake it up. Picture was going away. Okay, so just bounce around. I'm not really sure what this plant is that's up front. It covers a lot. I do want to make the grass a little brighter, so I'm coming back with it. Lay that in. Some of this tree got obliterated with the wet on wet, and so I'm going to just going back and adding some dark to it because watercolors do dry lighter, and that's okay. So I want a little bit more foliage back in here. I want those trees darker as well. I think I'll pretend that something's blooming. Actually, I like the wet on wet. I want to wet that just a little bit. And then hit the dots. That makes it a little less polka dotted. And just pretend there's some kind of beautiful bush, shrub that is blooming. And we'll put a little bit more of it down here. We're going to take a very hint of it down in here. That's a little too bright. That can be something else, but I like to throw in a little pink or red when the majority of the painting is green, because red is its complement, so therefore pink would add some interest. Doesn't have to be just pink, but I like pink for this. Okay, I'm going to go back over here to create a dark brown. And I'm picking up some of that dark of the tree. Barely, barely, barely touching with my brush on the tree branches. And there's some that go out different directions. Main thing is I want this to be fairly straight, fairly smooth, and all the way down. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Looking at the tree trunk. It's about the same width. Doesn't change a whole lot from the top to the bottom. Some of the branches are actually whiter, so I'll come back maybe with a pen and put those in. You can see that this has a lot more dark than this one did. There's a big pile of paint right there. I'm just going to pick that up so it'll dry a little faster. And we'll just see in just a minute what needs to be re-emphasized and what can just stay the way it is. One of those trunks a little darker because these are some of the closest things up front because they go off the page of the sketchbook. Not sure if I like this. It's a lot rougher than what do I use? Moleskine is probably what I use more than anything. And I'm always trying to find, what I can use, what's the best for the price. And honestly, what's best for the price is whatever you'll use. If you're so afraid to paint on it because it's expensive, then don't buy it. I want these a little darker, so I'm going to come back with more paint. I want it green. Pick up this darker. There we go. A little more solid. If it's a little too hard of an edge, these are all sharp edges, hard edges. You can wipe off your brush till paint doesn't come off of it anymore. And then you can dab it, lightly touch it. You can lift some of it off by dampening an area and then dabbing it. So you do have some options. I didn't really need to do that there. I like it dark. Okay, that might be all I do for that page. It doesn't have to have all the detail, and that's been about 30 minutes. That might be like a quick sketch outside. I'm going to see how the tape does. Oh, and I like to fold a piece of freezer paper. Just fold it first in, and then what's left over, so it has a smooth slide to get your page in. That just keeps this page clean. So let's see what happens. Well, so far so good. And I haven't been to Italy yet. These are pictures that I've taken from watching videos and pausing them. But I do like, okay, so far so good. That wasn't bad. A little rough on the paper itself, but you can get a nice dry brush effect, and it did all right. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and then I might add a little pen and then decide, should I add the pen or not add the pen? Italy, tall cypress. You know what? Some artists do it, and I really like it when they do it, where they'll take something and they'll take it off the page. On second thought, see, the thing I don't like is it ended right at the tip. It's almost like a tangent. Well, it is a tangent when they end in the same place. Just let it go off the page. I like that better. Happy accident. Leave it alone, Carrie. Leave it alone. Okay, what do you think? Yay, nay? Does it get the feel of the place? That's really all I need for a journal.